There can be only one. Ah, my eyes! Ah! Hey friends, a few months ago we made this Highlander lightsaber and it's one of my very favorite things.
It still looks so good.
I love it. But we have another project for today. It's very similar.
Yeah, when we ordered the SaberForge parts, we got 2 sets.
Mm-hmm.
Bill got the yellow one and I got a purple one. It's very bright.
So bright.
And we haven't made my lightsaber. Oh gosh. We haven't made my lightsaber yet, so we're gonna do that today.
From one of our very favorite movie series, Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Lord of the Rings might be my favorite trilogy.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Lord of the Rings is the #1 trilogy.
So we're gonna make Aragorn's sword from the end of Return of the King. That version of the sword only as a lightsaber.
Yeah, so I guess the idea would be if when Narsil broke, instead of reforging the blade, it became a lightsaber.
Yeah, that's my new headcanon. We figured this would be a great project to do a little bit of 3D modeling, a little bit of 3D printing. This is why we're so stoked that Anycubic reached out to send us a couple of toys to try out in this video. They sent us their Photon Mono X resin printer. Ooh. And they sent us the washing and curing station. We're really stoked. We haven't done a ton of resin printing, so we're excited to see what the newer offerings could do for us in our prop shop.
The Anycubic Photon Mono X is a resin printer, and they sent us some resin too. They have their own Craftsman resin. We got gray and beige. Ooh. And one of the reasons I was excited to try out a resin printer is they're so good at fine detail. Mm-hmm. And it kind of like prints upside down. So this is the print bed, and that's the resin vat, and it dunks it to do the different layers.
We also got this washing and curing station, which I think is the real MVP. Working with resin can be kind of sticky, and especially your models, once they're done printing, you got to wash all the extra resin off and cure it with UV light, and this machine does both of those things.
Yeah, it has a giant vat that you can just pour your cleaning solution in. We used isopropyl alcohol, and you can just dump your print right in there. But there's also a little cage. You can set the whole bed in if you want to clean the whole thing.
Yeah, it's been working really fantastic for us. The mess from resin printing is what's always been kind of a bother to me, and this machine really takes care of the mess.
After washing, you can cure it by just switching out a couple parts too. The little turning table works for both settings, which is, I think, super neat. It's very smart.
We've had a lot of fun with these machines, getting them up and running and getting our models working. So why don't we head to Fusion 360, and look at Britt's 3D models.
I'm so glad you asked, Bill, because I'm really proud of my janky model I made. Ta-da! Isn't it beautiful?
I think it's gorgeous.
You'll notice that it's on a little bit different shape than the original, and I decided to accommodate all of my electronics in their existing forms, as well as some kind of like metal tube assembly, all inside of here, and change its shape. And since it's supposed to be more of a chunky lightsaber, I think that works really well. One of the things I'm the most proud of is, look, I got the Elvish text on there.
It looks awesome.
And since parts of this are hollow, I segmented it into 4 different parts. We have the grip, and it's just a tube with some ribs on there. And then we have these 2 guard pieces, and then I also have the pommel. And the pommel fits right into the handle there. Love it.
Let's print it. Print it up. Print it up. Print it up.
Hope it works.
Here are the prints we got, and overall, I am stoked with how they turn out. Look at the fine detail on the text in there. That's so crazy. This type of printer is pretty new to us, so we had a little bit of a learning curve getting everything to work properly, but overall, we're really happy. We put some really thick supports on here. At some point, I want to fine-tune my recipe so we don't have to have such huge supports to make sure it sticks. So you'll see some pitting and bumps from the supports there. But hopefully, as we get better with this machine, we'll be able to fine-tune that. We did also learn that the temperature of the resin makes a huge difference. It's cold down here in our basement, and that made an effect on whether or not prints would turn out okay.
Yeah, we ended up printing in our spare bedroom.
That's right. We got an air filter, air purifier. It's working really well. We also found that bed leveling is really important. I updated the firmware on the machine. And then we did a bunch of slicer tests. We used Lychee to do all the slicing on this one. And we printed a calibration matrix. Britt snapped it in half because she's the Hulk.
I didn't realize it was so fragile.
But it turned out really well. And what blows me away is the super crazy fine detail it was able to do. Some of these spots are even hard to see with the human eye. It turned out really, really well. And our prints turned out great. We will have to do a little bit of body work to fill some of our supports over here, but that's nothing new to us. Just a little filler, a little sandpaper, and we'll start getting this thing cranking. We also found it's a pretty good idea that if you're not going to print stuff for a few days, to clean the vat out of all the resin instead of leaving it sitting there. So we learned a ton getting these prints ready, but I'm really stoked with how they turned out. And now it's time for cleanup, Britt.
Woo.
Time for a sanding montage.
Oh, sanding montage.
Let's do it.
It's so good.
Am I being helpful?
So helpful.
All goofing aside, this resin is super easy to sand, and the layer lines are so tiny. It's turning out really awesome. The text on here, Britt, this turned out awesome. It looks
Isn't
so
it
cool.
so cool?
In fact, our buddy Joel, the 3D printing nerd, has a really great Fusion tutorial over on his channel on how to project text and stuff onto a surface like that. It's really useful.
Yeah, I'll link that video down below because it's so nice.
Fantastic. I think the next step then is to glue these together because we'll have to fill the seam between them a little bit. But they're going together really well.
It's pretty satisfying.
Before we do that though, we have this rod, this threaded rod that's going to go in each one of them.
Yeah, I was a little concerned that the resin would be brittle, and it does seem like it might shatter if I drop it, so hopefully this will help with that.
So I'll mark it to length and then we'll just chop. I was hoping that would work. I'll go use an angle grinder. Who do I think I am? This old Tony? I'm gonna glue these in place. I've got my super instant epoxy. Good stuff. Very short working time, so we're gonna work fast. And we'll just get a new stick. There we go. And we'll just do these and then we'll glue the rest of it together down the hatch.
And the reason I went with a threaded rod is because it's what we had in the diameter that would fit in there.
Yep. In you go.
All right.
Cool. Why won't you go all the way? I definitely test fit this before. I don't know why it's not going in.
Maybe there's an air pocket.
Yeah, I'll look at that.
Try pointing it the other way. You're going to get epoxy all over yourself, though.
What if I screw it in? Well, that's a pain. Try and get some of that out of there. Too much glue. Cool. I need to clean off everything, including my hands, but that looks pretty good.
Now we can glue these two halves together. You really don't need that much. All right.
Nice.
Squeeze.
You want I should give them the clamps?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, we went and searched for our clamp beforehand. Make sure you do that when you have something that's very time sensitive. Oh, I feel it. I feel it getting squished.
Do you feel it? Do you feel the cosmos?
I feel the cosmos. Na 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 na. us. Our many parts are becoming fewer parts. I think now it's time to do some filling.
You can see some of these spots where supports ripped out a little bit of material. I'm using the rotary tool to grind that out so it's not shiny anymore. That way the filler has some tooth to grab onto. For the first round of filling, we're going to use an air drying spot putty. This goes in any indent or hole that's smaller than about 1/16 of an inch deep. You can just put it on with some spatulas or whatever little tools you've got. And then it air dries. You just let it dry. We let it dry overnight so that it's ready for sanding in the morning. This spot putty is really fantastic. It dries in about a half an hour unless you put it on really thick. We let it dry overnight. And now it's perfectly sandable. And I just have some 220 here. And I'm sanding away everything except for what is down in the indents that we're filling there. These two parts didn't match up perfectly, so we're just gonna blend them together. Well, that round of filling is all done and it's looking really great, but we have some couple of slightly bigger spots that need a little more attention. So you'll see this part here, there's a tiny gap in there. It's pretty good all the way around, but we want to fill this part here. There was a slight indent on the print. Now we could reprint this piece if we wanted to and try and dial our settings in a little better, but that feels a little bit wasteful. And this already looks so good.
Seems such a small thing to fix when I'm used to FDM prints.
So we'll mix up a little bit of body filler. We have this Evercoat right here and we'll fill in a couple of those bigger spots. Let that cure for a bit and then, you guessed it, a little more sanding. Time for sanding.
Always more sanding.
We're just gonna smooth this out so it sort of blends with everything else, but we wanna keep what we built up right there. There we go, that's a lot nicer. There, that looks really good and it fits well. I think we're ready to give everything a good priming. Then we'll really see where we are and decide if we want to do any more sanding.
I mean,
there's always more sanding. you just run out of stamina. It's really
or caring.
Yeah, I guess it's good enough.
There's like a graph and like how much you care about the thing and how much you want to keep sanding.
Mm-hmm. Those are some really cute earrings, Britt.
Oh, they're beautiful.
It's time for primer.
Primer!
Noisy little bird. Little downy woodpecker. So talkative. Oh, right, we're painting something. Bird's cheering you on, Brett.
Meep. Meep. He says I did a good job.
Looks good. Now we have to let it dry, let it dry, let it dry. Our primer is all dry, and I'll tell you what, these pieces look really great.
I think they look cool.
We'll do just a little more body work, some tiny little spots that need a little love. But before we do that, I think it's time to start wrestling with the internals. We need to figure out how the electronics are going to live mostly in this part here. We have this aluminum tube that's going to be sort of the structure for all of that, which we'll have to cut to length. And also, the blade is going to go in there, and it needs to be a little more snug. So I think I'll start by going to the lathe and make a little aluminum bushing for that to go in. And then eventually there'll be a set screw that goes through to retain that. I was just looking for an excuse to use the lathe on this project.
I figured.
Let's do it. custom part is ready to go. So this tube will go in the body of the lightsaber, like that, to provide support. We're going to drill some holes in there for the electronics as well. This part will go in, and then the lightsaber blade will go in that. So this is all going to get glued together before we start drilling holes. That seems to make the most sense to me. But what do I know? I went to school for computer art. Poop. Yeah, give me the good stuff. It's probably plenty. This isn't going to need a lot of glue. It's pretty snug. Okay, this will go in that way, I think. There we go. That's the bottom part, which means this part goes up there. We sanded these tubes so that they have some tooth, something for the glue to grab onto. And then this will go... Actually, I'm going to go from the other side so it'll squeeze out.
How are you going to push it down there?
With a stick.
Ah.
You made a great point, Britt. And yeah, all that squeeze out. We'll just get that on the end there.
Nice.
Clean it off. Looks good. Now we wait 5 minutes, which is the hardest part. Epoxy's all cured, ready to go. So we have this sleeve now for the light and the blade.
Cool.
Then to keep them in there, we'll put a pair of set screws in so that the blade will be removable.
You did a great job with that bushing, Bill.
Oh, thank you very much. Let's head over to that drill press, make some holes. Ooh. A little shattery. Ugh. Okay, and that'll be for an M5 set screw, which should go right in there. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna drill that a tiny bit bigger before I tap it. So this goes in there. This should hold that in. There we go. Retained. And this goes. There we go. Nice. Those are in there sturdy.
I love it.
Yeah, we'll just do a little touch up on that where it cracked, but that looks pretty good. It is time to install our electronics, and the thing that it came in, I destroyed it.
On purpose.
Yeah, I did exactly what I did with my Highlander lightsaber. I put a smaller battery in it, and I shortened all the wires so we have less of a mess in there. But the next thing we have to do is to drill the holes for the button. This turns it on and off, and then this is this arms it, but also that's for charging. So we need both of those to be visible, and we figure right there is a good place for that. I don't have these threads. I don't have a way to cut those threads. So I'm just going to drill it to the outer diameter of this and have a press fit. We can glue it if we need to. Oh yeah. That went great, except for one little thing. I drilled all the way through the other side.
Wah, wah.
We can fill, I'll just use some super glue and we'll fill that. But what's really important is that these fit great. That fits like that. And then we do need to remove a little bit of this this ribbing here. And I can just trace.
Gee, this would be sure be a whole lot easier if I designed this in the 3D model.
This is all about, this is prototyping though. This is prototyping in action. We can just come in with a rotary tool or something to remove that little bit, and then these will be able to be flush. So I've made this error on purpose so that I can show you how to patch something with super glue and baby powder. I have some baby powder, and just mix it up with some super glue, and it makes a putty. And the great thing about this putty is I can spray it with super glue accelerant and it will cure instantly. So I can sand it smooth without having to wait forever for like a spot putty or Bondo. Forever. And you can mix it up until it's a consistency that you like. I like to make it into a putty that can sort of stand on its own. Well, that's sinking through, isn't it? Oh, it's not a problem. Here, we'll hit it with one spritz of that, which will start it to setting up. Which will start it setting up. And then I can put a little more on. There we go. Another spritz, we give it a minute, and we'll just sand that smooth. There we go. You didn't see anything.
Oh, that looks perfect.
This is all going to get hit with a textured spray paint, so I'm not really worried.
Yeah, I think the handle's supposed to look like a leather wrap, but I'm far too lazy for that, so I went out and bought some textured spray paint.
Also, the spray accelerant melts paint. Just so you know, if you're going to use that stuff on a finished prop, it may melt paint. This primer is only a day old and it totally started melting because of that stuff. So keep that in mind. All right, we need to hog out that little bit of material there. Okay, let's see here. That should fit in there. Nice and flush, I like it. And then this will go right below it. Perfect.
Yes.
All right, we won't glue them yet because this needs to get painted. And you found a black textured paint. So we can go do that right now. Probably do like 2 coats?
Sure.
Yeah. We're gonna do a little bit of wet sanding to get the surface prepped for all our parts. I have this 400 grit and we may go up a little higher than that. We want a really shiny finish. So there we go, we got that. We have some nice warm water for our hands. Here's our mighty fine looking wet sanded pieces ready for paint. For the paint, we got 2 steps. First is a gloss black coat. This is all clad lacquer. We'll do 2 coats of that, make it nice and shiny. And then Spazstics Mirror Chrome to give it that super shiny metallic finish. Ah!
So shiny.
Looking pretty good there. All right.
Before we do the clear coat, there's a little bit of gold on these inside parts. Don't breathe.
It looks so shiny.
Does that look all right?
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Cool. I'll take it.
That's what we're aiming for today. Pretty good. You guys don't know, but we had to repaint that piece because I dropped it on the ground and then Brittany put a thumbprint in it. So we both double teamed it.
It's not just good, it's good enough.
Pretty happy with that paint job. Now we got to protect it with a little clear coat. This is Aqua Gloss from All Clad. While our shiny chrome pieces are drying, we can focus on the main section of the handle here and our electronics. Everything should fit in this part right here. We taped the ends off here because these will be glued into the other parts, so we didn't want any of this textured paint to interfere with that. And speaking of that textured paint, it feels very nice. Yeah, I like it.
Looks very leathery.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to keep it this sort of satin finish as well. We're not going to spray any gloss clear on it or anything. Our light goes in first. There we go. About like that. And then we have a set screw to hold in place. This is so much fun. This is like putting together your own toy kit. All right, that's in there. Now, the tricky part is connecting these. I have to feed them through. Okay, this isn't going to be that bad. I shouldn't have said that out loud.
It's like Operation.
I know. Yeah. I have a hunch that game is nothing like actual surgery. Let me do this to prevent it from going back in. Okay, one thing attached. Brilliant. Let's get the other one. I'm touching the sides everywhere. Okay, let's plug this in. Okay, cool. Let's do a systems check. Great. Great.
Yes!
All right, all of this gets stuffed back in there now. And we're gonna just glue these in. We got a little 5-minute epoxy ready to go. I have fully adopted the Jimmy DiResta method of mixing epoxy with a round stick. We don't need a ton of glue. We don't need more than that. Just enough to tack this in place. In you go. And in that goes. I have some little weights here. We can just boop, do that.
Little offcuts from the Hellboy bullet.
That's exactly what these are, yeah. And now we wait a good 5 minutes. Our buttons are good to go, and then everything else just gets kind of stuffed in there. I kind of folded the wires in, and then it's a bit of a friction fit. Let's get that speaker in there. And it just slides in. And then we basically have a flashlight now.
Look at that! Yes! You could just leave it like this.
It's a pretty cool flashlight.
It's time for the final assembly, Bill.
So exciting.
So exciting.
So shiny.
It's a really tight fit on these pieces, so I'm just going to use some 5-minute epoxy. I don't know, I'm surprised how long it is, but
Yeah.
it's really cool.
It looks so cool.
A little bit of gray showing there, so I got some just a little black acrylic paint. Just jam it in the crevice.
Hiding those crimes.
Can we start a true crime podcast that's about prop weathering? It's time for the blade. Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh, I don't know if we showed this. There's a hole that goes all the way up through the pommel and out the bottom here, so the audio should come out there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so pretty. Oh man, this turned out great.
Yeah, it did, Britt. We both have lightsabers now. Oh, they look so cool together. We could fight. Epic duel. Actually, I think we'd be on the same side, fighting the forces of evil. Britt, this turned out so great. I love the 3D modeling you did. Nope, it's talking to you.
I'm just gonna
power it down. Pull the kyber crystal out.
It's just so neat seeing my 3D print come to life into a thing.
Yeah.
The 3D files are available on our free blueprint site. I'll put a link down in the description. It's really custom. I don't know if you want to get the same stuff as me, but if you just want to, print it out and put another lightsaber in there, that'd be cool. If you're really into the idea of doing a Lord of the Rings lightsaber, the maker Tethan props has a whole bunch of them. They're super inspiring. They've done Sting and like the whole gambit. So
And you can get them.
yeah, I think they have some
Files
of the files available
Yeah.
and to buy and some designs to look at, and it's really cool.
This is great. I recommend everyone does a custom lightsaber. Make it your own in some way and have fun with it. It's just a great project and it's so satisfying.
And thank you to Anycubic for the printers to make this possible.
Yeah, it turned out awesome. The newer resin 3D printers, this was our first chance getting to try them out, and I am super impressed. And I'm especially into that washing and curing station.
Yeah, we're gonna use that a lot.
Yeah. Thank you so much to the members of our Extra Credit Club. If you want to join, help us make our videos and get access to weekly behind the scenes vlogs and shop projects, there are a couple of ways to join down below, either on Patreon or right here on YouTube. And again, thank you guys so much. You keep the lights on. We couldn't thank you more. Thank you for watching. We're going to have more project videos coming out soon, so subscribe if you haven't. And that's all we've got.
Let's go get some beauty shots.
I know, I want to wrap this up so we can go play with our lightsabers.
Yeah.
See ya, gang. Wow. Hey gang, a few years ago.
Years.
Years ago.
Years. It feels like years.
Sure does. Makes me happy every time I turn it on.
It sounded dirty.
It did. Someone showed up to give a little more commentary on our video.
She thought we were talking to her.
She always thinks we're talking to her.
Willow. Smells like burnt metal.
Ah.
Was that hot?
No, I just dropped it. That's enough. Rage! Rage! Ah! This is the hardener. Oh, I need to mix it in the tube a little bit. Is that the seat?
That was the seat. That time. My hand. It's so scratchy.
Sorry.